Okay, so welcome to Vital Vibes app podcast. We have a special guest today, and I'll let you introduce yourself just because you could do it better. But we have Chris Rogers here with us.
Hello, my name is Chris. I go by Chris, but my name is Christina. I'm an author, business owner, and just all around hustler. I am in love with empowering people. This is my dog. He won't leave me alone. And, I'm just here to inspire, motivate, and help others where I can.
Awesome. And I'm just really, really excited because I know you have your podcast, The Healing Process.
Yes.
And I've listened to all episodes to date. And I think it's really valuable for not only women, but everyone to listen to because you're dropping gems. And your latest one, episode 7, I know you talked a lot about breaking out of your shell and, getting out of your comfort zone. So can you please share a little bit of what that was like for you in your context?
Yeah, so thanks for actually listening to the healing process. It was just a little hobby on the side, which turned into a passion. So I do it so that I can once again uplift and motivate people. So I'm happy that you are listening to it. Breaking out of my shell. It's always been kind of hard for me to do that until I moved to LA. I used to live in Houston, so it was kind of hard to be a creative and have people take me serious. So I would always second guess myself and, you know, just stray away from becoming who I really am. So out here, I noticed that people were more free, they were more able to actually be themselves. So it took me a very, very, very long time to break out of my shell. But once I learned it, I was like, oh, I got to teach people this because getting out of your shell and actually living your life to the fullest is one of the things that's just like super needed. You can't continue through this life without being your true self, without reaching things that you truly want to reach, because at the end of your life, you're gonna be like, dang, I ain't do nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how breaking out of my shell, it took a lot of courage to do it, but I finally did it and now I'm here, girl.
Yes. And there's different layers to it too, right? And I'm going to keep referencing your podcast because you talk a lot about like the different things you've been through. And one of the things that I resonate with is in terms of, relationships, and not accepting what you shouldn't accept, not accepting things that you feel like don't represent you. And for me, I know I grew up to be very obedient. Like my parents taught me to be obedient. So when I got into a relationship, that's what I was. You told me to do this, like whether it was to pay for your food or whether it was, to drive today and I didn't want to, like things like that. So like for you in terms of relationships, how is it to break out of your shell in that context?
Man, I've gone through so many relationships where I've been just, I don't know, I let them take control of me. I've been through that over and over again. And my reasoning is daddy issues. That's where it came from. So I didn't have a father in my life. When I did find him, he was like super rude and mean and like, you're not my daughter. So it played a game on my mind to where I felt like I had to search for men who would kind of like act like him. And I don't know, it wasn't on purpose. It's just how it was.
Yeah, subconsciously.
So yeah, so I had to literally go through that over and over and over again until I was finally able to be like, I'm tired of this. I can't no more. And it was like, I can't deal with another man telling me how to do, what to do, how to dress, where to go. When I don't want to do something, like I was like, I'm so over this. And I was so fed up to the point where I was like, I'm not accepting this anymore. And I think a lot of people they think that it's a small answer. They think, hey, how can I move on from this person? And I always say, girl, when you're tired enough, you're gonna move on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true. Like we don't have to, I think growing up, it's just there's this idea of you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to do this. And it forces people to actually do it. It forces people to actually be like, oh, I can't live my dreams because I have to get married or I have to deal with this guy. And you stay together forever because that's what people tell you to do. But if you're not happy, what is the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, once they reach that point to where they're like, I'm not doing this anymore. that's when you'll receive true freedom.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I know for a lot of women too, sometimes we feel like we have to stay because we started in something.
Mhm.
Um, for what I recognize is that all the relationships I kept going back to, they ended up ending it, and it's like, no, when you try to go back to that after that, once the guy says it's done, it's done. But how come we keep accepting them when they've done wrong? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, what do you have to say about that in particular?
I'm so cutthroat these days. I went through a phase where I'm like, I'm literally not accepting anything I don't want to accept. I don't
Mm-hmm.
accept a man treating me bad because I'm supposed to be with him. No,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll be damned. If a man,
Mm-hmm.
if he calls me out my name, bitch, as the last bitch you ever gonna say.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
not gonna deal with this. This is
Yeah.
something I need to deal with. Setting boundaries and making sure you stay true to yourself is was detrimental in that. And like most people don't even realize you have to actually find yourself to
Mm.
understand where your boundaries are. You can't set
Mm-hmm.
boundaries and you don't even know yourself. If you don't
Yeah.
know how much you can take or what you don't want, you can't tell someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's some steps that people skip on the way to finding a mate. They don't even search for.
Exactly. So what does it look like to find yourself then? Because I know for myself, in terms of, I do personal development on the side, right? And I always said, I'm like, I can't give people advice if I'm not taking my own advice. So I started this journey with showing, what I do on Instagram here, and started doing little courses. And I realized when I'm actively taking care of myself, whether it's to question some of the ways that I'm thinking or what it is that I do, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a beautiful human being.
Mhm.
And I never took the time to really look at myself like that. So what are some steps that you took to actually realize that?
Um, so finding myself is it's gonna forever be a journey. I'm never
Mm-hmm.
gonna be done finding myself because I'm always gonna be changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, asking yourself questions. That's a lot of things. A lot of people fail to do that. They fail to really sit down with themselves and ask themselves, like, why did you do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
most people don't even see themselves as a person. We don't know what we look like. We don't know anything.
Mm.
We wake up, we have eyes, we're looking at everything else. That's our perspective. So
Yeah.
we forget to spend time with ourselves, like
Mm.
really get to know ourselves. I'm like, have you ever stared at yourself in the mirror? It's so weird,
Yeah.
so strange because it's like, wow, that's how I look. That's like really how I look, my eyes, my nose. And it's like a relationship you have to build with yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
finding myself is I'm gonna always read about things
Mm.
I didn't know about. I'm gonna always like question myself if I'm wrong or right. I'm gonna like treat myself like my best friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like the dating yourself part too, like I had to feel comfortable going out there and being like, this is my day for me. Whether I consider it care day or a date, a date night, like regardless, it's time to spend with myself. So have
Yeah.
you, like, what does that look like to you?
You always have to make sure that you're spending time alone.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't like to be alone. They can't stand being alone with themselves. They have to fill their time up with things and people and materials. But like being alone is always necessary. I love going places by myself. My boyfriend, he's like, I hate layovers. I hate layovers on planes. And I'm like, I love layovers. It
Mm.
gives me more time away from people that
Yeah.
I'm going to see or whatever. I just like to be alone by myself. And that's so important to love yourself so much that you appreciate that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help with everything else in your life.
For real. And I know one of the things that you do, which is how how I got to know who you were, through your business. I know it's ShopZ or Shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. So tell us a little bit about your business, what you do in that sense.
Okay, so I created that business about 7 years ago. It's been so
Mm-hmm.
long, but I created it because I used to be a server, I used to be a songwriter. My money just ended right there. Like something went wrong with my contract.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't want to go back to being a server because I've been a server for so many years. And I'm like, I can't go back to being a server. So I just randomly started the business and it went well for me for 7 years. So, I've been working because it's put me in a position to where I'm able to take care of myself, my mom, travel, save money for my future. And I just keep pouring into that business and trying to survive
Yeah.
this time, because everyone has like the same hustle. So it's been a roller coaster, especially with COVID. But you know, I'm very grateful for that business. And I also have a swim line, Tones. It's called Tones.
Yes. And can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to actually build? I know you have a course, so we could give that a shout out too. But let us know a little bit about the process of building your business. And the one thing I want to know is, did you ever feel like, oh my gosh, I need to stop, this is too hard, like that imposter syndrome come through? Like, what was that like?
So I've felt that probably every month of having a business, because it is very hard. It's hard. And we have to keep in mind that this was something I never set out to do. I wanted to be a songwriter. My thought was, I'm going to be in a studio writing songs. I'm not going to be making business deals, shooting clothes. And I had to completely learn this business from zero to where it is now. So it was hard. I had to teach myself every step of the way. I had to go through failures. I'm still going through failures. Like, I had to continue through things that I didn't know about by just making myself knowledgeable of it. And people give up so easy, and I give up easy too on some things. But there's always going to be a point where you feel like you can't, and that's when you have to tell yourself and fill yourself up all the time. Tell yourself you can't. There's no other option. You just have to. So that's what I've adopted through all these years, and that's how I'm still in business, honestly. Because if I gave into myself every month, I would quit by now.
Yeah, for real. And I think that's the thing about entrepreneurship. It's risk taking, right? And sometimes when we don't take a risk in any other aspect of our lives, it'll be hard to actually take on entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So in regards to like your life experience overall, what's one challenge that you're like, oh my God, like this has really shaped, or maybe a couple has shaped me to be who I am today?
A challenge. God, I have so many challenges. They all just collectively make me who I am. Our hardest year, my sister and I, was when my mom went to the hospital. We had to like go through basically seeing our mom just fall from glory. We had to see her at her lowest point. Aside from that, we still had to run our businesses. We still had to maintain relationships. We still had to make sure we were present enough to save her life in the hospital. We had to listen to doctors. We had to say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. That was the hardest year of our lives. And I think that really, really, really changed both of us, so that we're able to be more patient, more kind, just, you know, intake knowledge in better. Like, it's really, really helped us in the past year or two. And it's still going. She's still not 100%. So we're still kind of going through it, but it's not as bad as it was 2 years ago. I'm grateful for that experience, because it taught me how to be stronger, like 100% stronger.
And I think that's like a really touchy thing as well. And when people feel like they could make comments about, you know, your personal life, how do you combat that? Because there's always people that have things to say. I know you had mentioned once, I think it was in the podcast, that, you know, when you took a vacation and people knew that your mom was ill, right? And they're questioning, why are you on vacation? What do you do to respond to that?
It used to bother me a lot, honestly. Bother me. I used to take it in. I used to like sit with it, not understanding that when people say things like this, they're going off their perspective. They might have never been through it. They don't know you. They don't know who you are. They just make a comment and they go about their day. They probably think about that comment 5 minutes from now. So now I've created more of armor, because I'm just like, oh, that's literally not going to affect me anymore. People calling me ugly, people calling me stupid, people calling me fat. I'm like, this is so silly. Like, I know who I am. That's why I always say you have to really learn yourself and know yourself, because all that outside noise is going to be irrelevant, and they're going to be this small compared to when you don't love yourself or know yourself, or, you know, realize who you are. So now I'm just like, whatever. Next.
Yeah, exactly. And so when, for example, you have a couple pages. You have your business pages, you have your personal page, and then you have the all women's page. And so what was the purpose of starting the page for just women?
The purpose was because on my main page,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of there are a lot of men on my main page who make me feel extremely uncomfortable.
Mm.
They're very sexual creatures, so it doesn't matter most of the time what I post. I could post a sensual picture, I could post one where it's just my face, and they'll say something to make me uncomfortable. So
Mm.
like, I want to create a space where it's just female empowerment. Like, we're here to talk. We're here to talk about real stuff. I curse, sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
We're here to talk about real shit and not
Mm.
be bothered with people who might not understand what we're talking about. We
Yeah.
want to talk about, uplifting each other. We don't want to hear you so sexy, I just want to fuck. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I wanted to create that space so I feel more comfortable, but also open it up
Mm.
to receive what other people want to talk about or know about, or however I can help women. That's what I want to do. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I created that page. It's a private page. I
Mm-hmm.
go through and like make sure it's all women, but
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful. It's like my favorite page.
Yeah. And how has that in particular empowered you in different ways? Like having a group of women, you don't know everybody, but they're there and they're supportive and it's just a different energy. How has that empowered you?
It's literally so awesome because as much as I pour into that page, they pour back into me.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be like, "Oh my God, you helped me do this," and I'm just so happy because I was struggling with depression or whatever. And I'm just like, people don't realize how much that means to me, because when I wake up, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do to make the world better? And then
Mm-hmm.
actually hearing someone say it is just a confirmation from God, and it's just
Mm.
like you're doing the right thing, you're going on the right
Yeah.
path. So it makes me happy. It pours into me just like I can pour into that page also. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I can do that on my other platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I
Yeah.
know you do so many different things, right? And I probably don't know all of them, but I watch you with your business and I'm like, yo, this girl's grinding. Like, I need to, like, that's why I message you. I'm like, you inspire me because I see the various things you're doing. And we don't know the back end, the struggles, but we see what's in front of us. And I'm like, yo, she's grinding. So I see the business. I then see the podcast and I'm like, she's empowering people. Then I
Mhm.
see you write books and I'm like, okay. And then like just so many other things. So how do you do it all? Like it's all to give to others. How do you do it?
I make sure that I stay organized. I literally write out all of my tasks that I want to do, all my goals. And if
Mm-hmm.
I have a big goal, I figure out ways to reach that goal, and I pretty much scrunch it into every week. Like, how
Yeah.
can I, for example, how can I publish this book? So, Monday, you're going to research. Tuesday, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And I do
Mm.
that for every single thing that I'm working on. So, I'm always busy, I'm always working, I'm always executing things the right, correct way with
Mm-hmm.
intention and focus,
Mm-hmm.
and basically a GPS, because without
Yes.
organized, you're just gonna walk in circles like, oh, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll do this today. It's easier to get distracted. So, girl, I got so many things going on. I also have
Yeah.
my assistant helps me too, so that's
Mm-hmm.
a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you do spoken word as well or poetry. I don't know which one you call it, but I saw that you did like a video version. It was the beach and I just listened to that poem and I'm like, it's very, very powerful. And so you have so many talents, right? What else can we see coming from Chris?
Let's think. I don't know what's gonna pop up, but I'm gonna continue to work on my store.
Mm-hmm.
I am working on like it's a novel, but it's
Mm.
erotica and
Okay.
and it's sci-fi. So it's gonna
Okay.
be a bit. I've been working on that for like 2 years. I literally just opened up it's like a book folder on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I have like 5 books that I've been working on. I didn't even realize it. So I have all that coming. Um, I've been considering getting back into music. I'm not sure if I will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm still gonna like do a bunch of business stuff like e-courses and all that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna stay on the same path, and I'm trying to build up my YouTube as well.
Yes.
So I have a lot of things in the works.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I loved from back in the day, I think you were still Chris Zoe on Instagram, but you were doing the Beyonce impressions.
Oh,
Can you give us a little something something today?
like that's what got me popping it, but it's so embarrassing.
It was so funny. I'm like, oh my God, it's so good.
I'm like, okay, so this is my regular voice, and then if I want to talk like Beyonce, I just go lower.
Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, so we're coming to an end, but I don't want to end it off without you sharing how people could get in contact with you. I don't know if you do other collaborations. I'm just very grateful that you showed up today, but how could people get to know more about the work that you're doing today, overall?
I can push people to one place, which will be easier. It's my website, chrisperiod.com, CHRISSPERIOD.com. And everything, literally everything is funneled there, so it's easier.
Okay, awesome. And lastly, because this is a wellness and personal development podcast and app, what's one piece of advice you could leave us today?
Okay. My advice is to make today the last day that you talk down on yourself, period.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of people lately have been talking about, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not able to do this because, and I always think, you got to stop that. Make today literally the last day you say that you can't do something, say that you're not pretty, say that you're stupid, say that you're broke. Make today the last day. And from here on out, we're working on uplifting ourselves so we can be our best version so that we're able to pour into everything else that we're doing.
Yes, thank you so much. That was perfect. I truly, truly appreciate you coming today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.